Hello everyone. Welcome to Plot Recap Hub. In this video, we are going to recap the movie 2067 from 2020. So let's begin. In the near future, climate change, deforestation, and nuclear warfare have devastated Earth, leading to the slow decay of cities worldwide. Power and food shortages plague humanity, followed by a critical lack of oxygen. By 2067, one of the few surviving cities is located in Australia, which has been able to hold out thanks to synthetic oxygen. However, this oxygen is contaminated, causing a widespread illness known as the sickness. Ethan White and his best friend Jude work as utility operators to stabilize the neutral reactor to restore power to their city. At the end of each workday, their boss conducts health scans on the crew. When a coworker announces he can't return the next day, Ethan volunteers to take his shift to earn extra oxygen credits, but the boss fires the struggling worker anyway. On his way home, Ethan encounters a protester who argues that oxygen should be a right, not a privilege, urging the crowd to make sacrifices for future generations. While most people ignore him, Ethan is approached by the fired worker, desperate for a job to support his children, who are suffering from the sickness. Their argument is abruptly halted when the protester unexpectedly bursts into flames. Later, Ethan sees a news report where he learns that the protester did that since the last surviving plant had also died. The report highlights the increasing death toll from the sickness and mentions that Cronicorp, the company responsible for oxygen production, has promised to find a solution. The reporter then discusses the death of Cronicorp's lead scientist, Richard, who happens to be Ethan's father, and this causes Ethan to switch off the TV. Just then, Ethan's wife, Xanthi, arrives home, and he surprises her with a new oxygen mask. Their playful moment takes a dark turn when Xanthi suddenly vomits blood, revealing she is afflicted with the sickness, though she reassures Ethan that she is okay. Sometime later, Ethan is called to the Cronicorp's headquarters, accompanied by Jude. There, they meet Regina, the chief technology officer, who reveals that Ethan may play a crucial role in saving humanity. She leads them to a lab where it is revealed that they're working on a time machine called the Chronicle, which was invented by Richard 2 decades earlier. They've been testing it by sending a clock for a few minutes, but they've also sent radio waves and received a message from 400 years in the future stating, "Send Ethan White." Regina theorizes that people in the future have found a cure for the sickness, but will only share it with Ethan. However, they don't know how to bring him back, so he must locate those who sent the message to be able to get back. After the meeting, Ethan and Jude head to a bar to discuss Regina's proposal. Ethan struggles with the thought of leaving Xanthi, but Jude points out that staying could mean her death, while going might offer a chance to save her in the long run. When Jude brings up Richard, Ethan insists that his father abandoned him after leaving behind only a self-deletion note and a strange device on his wrist. He believes that if Richard had been there, his mother would have lived, and he refuses to repeat that fate with Xanthi. However, Jude counters that saving Xanthi requires taking action, not merely wishing things would improve. Later, Ethan reflects on his 8th birthday, when he eagerly awaited his father's arrival. When Richard finally appeared late at night, he gifted Ethan a peculiar box, instructing him that he would need to make an important choice one day. Suddenly, a bracelet clamped around Ethan's wrist, causing bleeding. Richard left the house despite his wife's protests, leaving young Ethan traumatized after telling him that the bracelet would not come off. The memory of his mother's death weighs heavily on Ethan, driving him to return home to tell Xanthi about Cronicorp's plan. He hesitates to leave her, but Xanthi encourages him to have faith and not use her as an excuse to avoid making a difference and saving humanity. She shares her fear of dying, especially after losing several students in her class to the sickness. That evening, Ethan goes to the rooftop to survey the city, desperately trying to remove the bracelet as he recalls the day his mother died on the streets. On that day, Jude had found him and shared his oxygen mask with Ethan. The next morning, he leaves a metal flower for Xanthi, promising to return, unaware that she is awake and crying. At the Cronicorp's office, Ethan strikes a deal with Regina that he will go to the future only if Xanthi receives the first dose of the cure. Regina agrees, and they head to the lab, where scientists explain how Ethan will operate a special suit and a pocket computer named Archie. Jude appears to support him, promising to look after Xanthi. Once prepared, Ethan steps into the machine, electricity surging around him until a blast of energy propels him into the future. A hole opens in the sky, and Ethan falls at great speed, landing in the middle of a lush rainforest and instantly losing consciousness. When he wakes, he finds his suit is on fire and hurriedly removes it just before it explodes. Ethan's body takes time to adjust to the sunlight and fresh oxygen, which have allowed vegetation to flourish in the area. After marveling at the natural beauty, he tries to check his location with Archie, but it fails to connect to any satellites. He releases a magnet into the ground, allowing Archie to detect nearby structures and guiding him to the closest facility. Upon arriving at the entrance of the facility, Ethan is shocked to find a skeleton with a hole in its skull, particularly unsettling because it is wearing a suit with his name. He also discovers a rusted Archie beneath the leaves and Richard's bracelet on the skeleton's wrist, illuminated with a green light, indicating that the previous owner perished on this mission, causing panic to rise within him. Once he regains his composure, Ethan tries to open the facility's doors, but is unsuccessful. Instead, he asks the rusted Archie to play the last recording, which reveals a distorted voice stating that this outcome is preferable because it ends everybody's suffering. The recording then transitions to two voices arguing, followed by a gunshot before the battery dies and Archie powers down. Noticing a wire wrapped around the rusted Archie, Ethan uses wire from his own suit to connect with Archie, allowing it to detect a beacon signal. He follows the signal through the forest and discovers two oxygen dispensers, but no sign of any people. As evening falls, Ethan manages to start a fire with Archie's help and finds some unidentified berries, tasting one before discarding them due to their awful taste. Later, Ethan asks Archie to identify the constellations and confirm that it is now the year 2474. This sparks a memory of stargazing with Richard, which abruptly shifts as he recalls his father growing sick, vomiting, and hallucinating during a thunderstorm. Suddenly, Ethan sees a light crash near his camp, and, as the hallucinations intensify, he notices a man running toward him to stab him in the chest. Ethan passes out, only to awaken moments later and find that the mysterious figure is Jude, who injected him with medicine to cure the poison from the berry. The next morning, Jude explains that Cronicorp tracked Ethan's vitals, and seeing he was in danger, used their remaining power to send him for help. Ethan shows Jude the skeleton, but Jude refuses to believe that it could be Ethan. They use Archie to track the signal again, ultimately locating another facility. Upon scanning Ethan's eye, the door swings open, revealing a dim interior lit only by a glowing screen with Ethan's name on it. When he presses Enter, the bracelet on his wrist activates, extracting blood for DNA analysis. Thinking they are under attack, Jude reveals a gun he brought along. Suddenly, the light on the bracelet turns green, confirming Ethan's identity and activating the computer's lights. They are astonished to find themselves in Cronicorp's lab, where the computer announces that a portal will open in 4 hours. While Jude feels relief, Ethan is alarmed that his bracelet is green just like the skeleton's, indicating he is doomed to follow the same fate. Ethan checks the computer logs and discovers a holographic recording from Richard during his time at Cronicorp. Richard explains that they buried a monitoring station to send data from the future when the air became breathable. The next entry discusses the reply from 2474 that the team had eagerly waited for, but it only states, "Send Ethan White." Regina had inquired about sending physical matter, but the report indicated a power issue in 2474. Suddenly, alarms blare throughout the lab, alerting them to a problem with the nuclear core's power. Ethan makes Archie run a diagnosis, and they discover the power feed is corrupted, meaning they won't be able to return to 2067. The computer warns that if they don't fix the issue before the countdown ends, a nuclear explosion will occur. Jude rushes to find tools, but Ethan is stuck grappling with the realization that Cronicorp had known about the power failure long before summoning him, and the message had been sent from this very place, indicating they had already fixed it and found the cure. Confused, Ethan questions why Cronicorp had not informed them about the power failure or sent a medic, but Jude explains he was the only one who volunteered. Jude insists they focus on repairs, but Ethan argues they must assess their situation first, almost provoking a fight. Jude urges Ethan to see how critical the situation is, and Ethan reluctantly agrees to head to the access tunnel for repairs, as long as they promise to search for the sender of the message afterward. They cross the forest and reach the city, only to find it in ruins, overgrown with vegetation. As they explore, they discover numerous skeletons, and Ethan realizes that no one survived from his timeline. The Earth has simply waited for humanity to die before reclaiming its space. Panic sets in as they arrive at Xanthi's school and find the skeletons of the students, indicating they died in the classroom. Ethan can't help assuming they'll fail the mission, since nobody was around to move the bodies. Ethan discovers one final skeleton. It's Xanthi's, with the metal flower he left her grasped in her hand. Overwhelmed with grief, Ethan recalls the night Richard had summoned them, only to be followed by a stranger who murdered his mother and stole Ethan's oxygen mask. Richard never showed up, but Jude saved Ethan from that tragedy. The memory triggers a panic attack, but Jude helps him regain his composure. Ethan sobs, filled with regret over leaving Xanthi alone, convinced they have failed their mission. Jude suggests they are fortunate because no one is suffering anymore, echoing the words Ethan heard from the rusted Archie. To confirm Jude's claim, Ethan replays the recording, realizing the argument concludes with Jude shooting him. In disbelief, Ethan confronts Jude about his gun, questioning why he has it since there's nothing to fight here. Their argument escalates until Archie reminds them that only 2 hours remain before the nuclear explosion. Jude drags Ethan to the tunnels, where they discover that the nuclear core is malfunctioning, requiring them to reroute the power. Their initial attempts fail, triggering a safety protocol from the computers that attempts to shut the door. Jude manages to block it with a metal bar, but when Ethan hears that the chamber requires depressurization, he removes the bar, forcing Jude outside to save him. Activating the oxygen purge restores power, but causes Ethan to lose consciousness. In desperation, Jude breaks the glass, allowing oxygen to flow back in and revive Ethan. After returning to the lab, they realize they have only 37 minutes until the portal opens. Suddenly, Ethan discovers a door leading to his own skeleton, making him confront the reality that he may not be able to alter his fate. While swapping batteries between the two Archies, Ethan accuses Jude of planning to shoot him. He then makes the rusted Archie replay the final moments of the other Ethan, revealing Jude threatening him with a gun and urging him to fight back. Jude insists he has no intention of shooting Ethan, but the confrontation escalates, with Jude suggesting they should stay there, but Ethan is resolute, unwilling to let everyone die. He pushes through another door into the utility room, finding that there are no oxygen masks. Jude claims it's impossible to save everyone, but Ethan brushes him aside and accesses the computer to play a log recorded on his 8th birthday. Richard admits to making a mistake, but the message abruptly cuts off when Jude shuts down the power. Furious, Ethan locks Jude in the utility room and restores power to finish listening to Richard's message. Richard reveals he did everything for Ethan and wanted to express that love. He instructed young Ethan to take a walk with his mother to meet him, but before he could leave, Regina and Jude stormed into the lab and cornered him. Regina had intended to escape to the future with a select group of elites, abandoning the search for a cure, claiming humanity was the real virus. Richard refused, revealing he programmed the system so only Ethan could activate it in the future, causing a furious Regina to take out a gun and ask one of the scientists if it was possible to send at least one person to fix the power issue. When the scientist confirmed it could be done, Regina shot Richard. At that moment, Jude breaks free, attempting to stop the recording, but fails. The full truth emerges that Regina sent a team to murder Ethan's mother and ordered Jude to protect Ethan. Devastated, Ethan confronts Jude, accusing him of manipulating him all along. Their argument spirals out of control, and Ethan starts ripping out cables to disable the Chronicle, prompting Jude to tackle him, begging him to fight back. Ethan refuses, asserting he believes in Jude, even though Jude has taken out his gun and pointed it at Ethan's head. Overwhelmed with guilt from the memories of their first meeting, Jude apologizes and then takes his own life. Meanwhile, Regina prepares her elite group for escape, instructing a guard to kill Ethan upon arrival in the future. Back with Ethan, he falls into despair, reaching for Jude's hand, only snapping back to reality when the computer registers a ping from Regina's team. It dawns on him that he has been the one orchestrating events, so he types the message, "Send Ethan White," devising a plan. In the present, Regina awaits the countdown to hit 0, but instead of a portal opening, the Chronicle shuts down. Inside the machine, they find a package from Ethan containing various plants, a can, and a video documenting Richard's murder. In the future, Ethan destroys the Chronicle, ensuring it can never be misused again. Soon, news reports cover Regina's arrest and scientists working with the plants for ecological regeneration. A Chronic Cop employee brings the can to Xanthi as it bears her name. Upon opening it, she starts to cry at the sight of a real flower. In the future, Ethan buries Jude's body by the river, leaving the metal flower on the grave. A butterfly flies nearby, reminding him of Richard's lessons about the interconnectedness of all things. Energized by hope, Ethan rushes back to the facility, only to find his skeleton has vanished. Excited about the potential changes, he races through the forest to the city, where he discovers humanity has survived, creating buildings that harmoniously blend with nature. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.